Hey there. Good evening, everybody. Dennis from Canoehound Adventures here. Hope everybody's having a great evening already. Hopefully we can make this evening a little more brighter. I'd like to welcome everyone to episode number 31 of Canoehound's Outdoor Adventure Show. My name is Dennis, also known as Canoehound, and Canoehound's Outdoor Adventure Show is a weekly live stream that brings you closer to the great outdoors. It brings you hot topics and interviews from YouTube creators and the people that we enjoy and watch. So we're live here every Tuesday evening, right here at this time, 7 o'clock. So mark it on your calendars, and hopefully you'll tune in and join us. We always seem to have some good guests on and some great topics. And the evening, you know what? We get to hang our brains up for a little while and just enjoy what we can enjoy right now. And that's some outdoor adventures and outdoor talk. So like I say, put it on your calendars, and we hope to see you every Tuesday. Let's see here. If you're ever wanting to know what's going on with the show or what's coming up, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification, or you can follow us on our Facebook page, also at Canoehound's Outdoor Adventure Show. We have postings on there all the time of upcoming guests and topics. And speaking of guests, right now we just go over a couple of upcoming guests that we have coming. On May the 12th, next week, next Tuesday, we have one half of the winning duo from the History Channel Season 4 series Alone. Ted Baird will be joining us, and we'll be having a great evening there and getting maybe to know a little bit more about Ted and his channel. And of course, I'm sure there'll be a bit of a lone talk in there as well, so you'll want to tune in for that. And then on May 19th, we have Stephen Coutts, and we'll be discussing the forgotten skill of canoe poling. How many of you out there ever heard of canoe poling? Well, probably not a lot of you, and that's because it's kind of a dying art. And we'll have Stephen on, and he is a canoe poler, and he'll be telling us a lot more about what canoe poling is, basically. So maybe you guys will all want to get out there and try that if you have a vessel. Yeah. Hope everyone's keeping healthy and safe these days with these wonderful COVID-19 things that are going on here. And I hope you're abiding by your local government's rules and regulations in trying to keep us all safe. Doing it for a good reason, obviously, to get rid of this. And I just want to say thank you. If there's anybody over here in this chat right now that is a frontline worker, thank you very much for all that you're doing. It's greatly appreciated that you're taking the time to try and keep everybody around you safe, healthy, or stocked up with things that they need. So thank you very much. It's a huge task that you'll definitely, you guys have taken on or have been thrust into. So keep up the great work. Keep up the great work. Let's see here. If you have the opportunity, I just ask if you could try to share this out. I should always ask that first before we get babbling on too far. But if you have a chance to try and share out this live stream, please do. It helps build a bigger audience for our guest. And tonight we have a great guest on. And just out of respect to them, let's put some ears and eyes on them. And that's always a good thing. And as you know, I'd like to hear feedback from you all as to what's coming up on different shows. If you'd like to see a new guest or a hot topic, let me know, and I'll do my best. Right now, we're booked into the first couple of weeks of June. So we've got some, like I say, some great guests coming up, but I'm always looking for more. The list is getting bigger and bigger because many of you do actually contact me and let me know who you'd like to see on the show. And that really helps. It opens my eyes to new YouTubers. And being a guy who doesn't have cable TV, I watch a lot of YouTube. So, you know, it's always gives me something new to watch and carry on with. And a little bit more news about Canoehound Adventures. If you haven't noticed down below, there's a join button. I mentioned last week that I've launched Canoehound Adventures memberships. What it is it gets you a few more perks into the channel. You get different things, some back-end access that a lot of people that are not members don't get. But just to let you know, somebody was asking me if this show will be affected by that, and absolutely not. This show will be live weekly for free, and there's never anything like that. So never worry about that, as well as my videos too. So we're just going at. Basically, it's just another way for anybody that wants to support the channel. And speaking of which, this is the time where I'm just going to be shouting out some of our new members that have joined within the past week. At the solo tripper level, we have Ari Rosen has joined on, Dave from Beastly Ironworks, Phil from Everything Spicy, and Nate from Nate Muskoka. thank you very much for your support, guys. And then at our solo paddler or solo tripper level, we have Sty North. Sty, thank you very much. Your support is greatly appreciated. And if anybody's wondering what any of the funds go to for that there, it goes into doing this stuff right here. Not the camera gear because I already have that, but StreamYard memberships and stuff like that so that we could bring you different perks on here. It just helps build the channel and gets this show to be a little bit better. So it's greatly appreciated. Anyways, enough babbling and carrying on. I want to get into tonight's guest because he is a really cool dude, and you guys should get to know him a little bit better. Tonight's guest is a popular YouTuber who has been camping, hiking, and bushcrafting for over 32 years. He says he's not a survivalist, but he's studied and practiced the skills. Also, he's an inventor and a creator of shelters, cook sets, cookware, and sometimes knives, shovels, and tools. So this guy's very well-rounded. Please welcome to the live stream tonight, Mr. David Pearson. How you doing, David?
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
everybody. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm, as usual, exhausted, but I'm pretty good.
Good. Hard day at work?
No, a hard day of paddling, kayaking, and fishing, and fighting the waves. I thought I was out in the ocean.
Oh, geez. Well, at least you're out there. I'm envious. I'm very envious, man. I got to get out on the water. Something fierce.
Yeah.
I wish I could crawl into the picture back here.
I wished I had a fancy background like the rest of y'all.
Yeah.
I'm just in my basement.
There's actually a lake I visited up north, Northern Ontario. What was it, last year or year before? 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Yeah.
On the Molly River. And I just thought it was a beautiful place. And hopefully I can get back there one day and take it all in again.
I see the way that picture looks, the way that lake is glossy smooth. That's why I like to fish. But today it had like ripples and waves from the wind blowing and trees going back and forth. It was bad.
Yeah. Did you catch anything?
No, didn't catch nothing. And there was these two real awesome guys with these real expensive kayaks with them big $3,000 depth finders, and they had about 10 rods each on them. And they said, "Yeah, we got skunked today," and they didn't catch anything. So that made me feel pretty good right there. But the funny thing is as them dudes was leaving, the one guy was dragging his kayak up on the bank.
Yeah.
And he actually drug it over a fish and stunned it, and the fish was there flopping. The other guy ran in the water and grabbed it. It was a little bitty fish. And he was like, "Look, I got one. I got one." And it was hilarious because it was like a friend of mine that he went all deer season without harvesting the deer. Mm-hmm. And then he wound up hitting two with his car.
You never know, right? You never know. It's been like that for me on canoe trips. You go all week without seeing a moose. You're driving 15 minutes up the highway and there's one standing on the side of the highway. Come on.
Exactly.
How many people in the chat have experienced that? Put a number one in there. So, David, tell us a little bit about yourself. Obviously, you're huge into bushcraft.
Well, to start with, I am just a normal guy like everybody else. I'm not like all these other guys running around that are survival instructors and own survival schools and write books and sell products, and create knives. I'm just a normal dude that works a job as a machinist, and I do YouTube on the side for fun. And I use YouTube the way people used to use it, and I like sharing what I do. And I love bushcrafting, and I like building experimental shelters, and I like building cook sets. Because in my opinion, the thing is if you take a tent and a sleeping bag, okay, and you go out on the weekends and you sleep in a tent in a sleeping bag, if you do it enough, if you do it 5,000 times, it's going to become very boring. And so you have to find ways of spicing things up. And for a lot of people, I know you see all these YouTube videos with these dudes that are all, dressed out, decked out, and with their fancy gear and sleeping under tarps. But you got to think about it. So your average person that's either slept in a tent or a hammock, it's kind of a thrill to sleep under a tarp for your first time. And that's you have to experience different things. And years ago I used to experience different things that were like along the borderline survival type tactics. And I don't like doing that anymore. The older I get, the more I like to be comfortable.
Wow. That's all right. So, but like, 32 years, I said, you've been doing it. What how did you get started? Were you, obviously you're probably a little younger than I am, maybe. I'm not going to ask your age in my business, but like, okay, 32 years. How did you get your start into this? Were you into camping and stuff beforehand?
No, I'll say this, I'm 52.
Okay. Well, you're younger than I am.
Oh, okay. So anyway, no, the thing is I was always into cars. I loved hot rods, loved cars, and into metalworking and being a machinist and paint and body work and all this kind of stuff. And so I got a job back in like 1988 at a steel mill. And beforehand, I worked at a place that loaded frozen foods on a truck. And I also worked at a place where I loaded beer trucks. And so, I was around a bunch of high school kids loading stuff, to where, it wasn't really a skill. It was just more like labor. And so I got this job at the steel mill, and these guys, they're all covered in tattoos and they're all greasy and they got scars all over them. And they all got long beards and they're all tough guys. And, I'm like, oh man, I was like SpongeBob SquarePants. I was like, oh, mill workers. And so, because I was just a kid, I think I was like 19 years old, maybe something. But anyway, I started out on day shift training, and then they moved me to third shift. Well, on third shift, you had these guys sitting around the break table, and I didn't have nothing to say. And because I was the new young guy. And so these people were sitting around and they were like, well, what are we going to do this weekend? What do you think Flathead's going to do? What's Big Nose going to do? And then I'm thinking, who are these people? And then they were talking about Duke, and they were talking about the Great White Ghost, and they were talking about Maverick. And they're like, I can't believe Maverick ain't in jail now. I'm like, and I said, who are all these people? Who are all these weird names you're talking about? And they're like, well, we go camping every weekend. I said, did Johnny set us up with these two guys that, they're they were very old guys, and they were experienced campers, outdoorsmen, bushcrafters. And they had learned from a guy named Red years ago. So they got a bunch of knowledge from an old outdoorsman, and they took a bunch of young kids camping and taught them different things and showed them how to do things. And so I decided I wanted to go. So that's how I got into it. And I went with them. And the thing about the nicknames is they're like, okay, when you're at work, you got a blue collar and a blue shirt, and you got your name tag on it because you're a worker. Out here at camp, this is a different world. We're out here to have fun. There's you know what I mean? And so everybody had a nickname. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, but that's how I got into it. And then when them guys got older and died off, and the group kind of died off, I just kept camping myself. And then I kept on creating and inventing and doing this and doing that and trying new things. And then I got married, and then it slowed down a little bit. And then when my kid got a little bit older, we kind of started going again, messing around. And then we started filming. Mm-hmm. So long story short, that's what we did.
Yeah. So what was your nickname?
Mine? Yeah. Really Big Monkey.
Okay, so that's where the name come from.
Yes, and I hate the name. I've always hated the name. I thought it was a stupid name, but I'm using the name as respect to my mentors because they gave me the name, and it was an idiotic. The story goes is we were at a creek. Now, we're not like Bear Grylls on Discovery Channel where you just jump in and swim across. That doesn't happen. So we were hiking to this place one time, and it was wetlands, and there was like an island and then a creek and an island and a creek. And we were doing pretty good going across logs. Well, then we came across this one creek that was real deep, and there was no way we could get across it, and we didn't know how we could. So this one guy, he climbs up a tree. I can't remember the kind of tree, but it was one of the kind that's got branches all the way down low to where you could climb it very easily. Mm-hmm. So he climbed up to the top of it, or halfway, and climbed out on a branch, and somehow or another jumped and landed on the other side. And so that guy, he told him, he said, that boy right there ain't nothing but a big monkey. And I was climbing up another tree, even higher. And he said, if that's a big monkey, that's a really big monkey. And so I climbed all the way top of a pine tree, and I got to the top and started swaying. Yeah. And I got it to sway all the way over, and I catapulted myself over on the other side.
So, some you would probably not think of doing nowadays, right?
No way. I was like 19 or 20 years old, and everybody, and so that was my nickname, Really Big Monkey. And some of the guys' nicknames are just really bad, derogatory, the stories behind them. And some of them, they liked their nicknames, and some of them, they hated them. Like the Duke, they called him the Duke because he loved John Wayne.
Okay.
You couldn't even, in the guy's bedroom, I went in his house one time, in the Duke's house, and his bedroom was wall to wall with movie posters of John Wayne. He even had a cutout, a cardboard cutout in his bedroom.
Oh, jeez. That's a serious fan for sure.
Yeah, it was a weird bunch of guys.
So what about the number one in Really Big Monkey?
That's YouTube's fault.
Oh.
I put in when I first signed up for YouTube in 2010, I typed in Really Big Monkey, and it wouldn't let me have it. It said you got to have what was it? You got to have either a number or a character at the end of it. So I went to put in an exclamation point. Well, I forgot to hold down the shift key, and instead of it being an exclamation point, it was a 1.
Yeah.
And see, I didn't think nothing about it. I didn't think I'd ever grow a channel or make a bunch of videos, so I just left it Really Big Monkey 1.
Well, hey, it's catchy. It's catchy. That's funny. Okay.
And see, that's the disadvantage to a lot of these smaller YouTubers that come to me and they're like, "Hey, how do I grow my channel? How do I do this? How do I do that?" Well, the problem is you've got 5,000 channels that are like green bushcraft, wood bushcraft, stick bushcraft, hillbilly bushcraft, survival bushcraft, all these different names, and they just sort of blur together. And even if you watch a channel and you like the content, it's kind of hard. Sometimes it's hard to remember them because there's just so much like bushcraft or bushcraft and survival. And it's like Really Big Monkey, such a stupid name, How could you forget it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sometimes whenever people ask me, they say, "How am I supposed to remember such a stupid name?" And I said, "Just think of Bigfoot. Bigfoot is a really big monkey."
No, won't have to remember if they hit the subscribe button, right? So.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So in the world of bushcraft, who's your inspiration? Like who would you watch or who would you look to learn new techniques and stuff like that? I know you're a bit of a trendsetter and you do a lot of stuff yourself, but who do you follow?
Well, me, unfortunately, my favorite is dead now. That'd be Morris Kohansky.
Yeah.
And that's because, and see, that's the thing is Morris Kohansky's not doing, he never did giveaways. He never had fancy gear. He wasn't a good looking man in a bathing suit, but
that's our problem right there, right?
That's our problem. Yeah. Good in a bathing suit. But anyway, see, Morris was the kind of guy that some people can't be just educated. Some people Really Big Pine Martin. Some people, it's not a bad thing. It's just a mindset. But some people can't just be educated. They have to be educated and entertained. And Morris Kohansky would basically just kind of sit behind a table and talk about things and hold things up to the camera. And there was just, but the thing about Morris is you could watch his video, let's say he made a video, okay? And then you could watch it a second time, a third time, and a fourth time. And every single time you would pick something up, some bit of knowledge that you missed the first time. And that's what I liked about the guy. Mm-hmm. I liked him. And then I liked Ron Hood. He died about 7 or 8 years ago. And he don't have a whole lot of videos on YouTube. There's a couple of them. And then John Lofty Wiseman, I liked him. He's got there's a couple of his videos on there. And as far as common YouTubers, I can't say I watch a whole lot of them. There was a guy years ago named Hob EXP. His real name's Freddie, and he was a pretty skilled guy. And there's a guy named I Hatchet Jack, and he is an absolute fire master because I can do the hand drill, but I kind of get out of breath when I'm doing it. But I Hatchet Jack, it's funny. He could be just sitting there talking to you, and he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna take this spindle, and I'm gonna break it in," and he'll just start doing this, and he'll say, "Now, once you get it broke in, then you can do the notch, and then he'll look down, and he'll go, 'Oh, look, I got a smoking amber.'" So He's a fire master, you know. But I can't. There's so many of them. I have to have my memory jogged over them. But as far as my absolute hero, it's Morris Kohansky.
Yeah.
You know.
I appreciated the video that you did, the fire or the coffee challenge that you did, or doing it Morris's way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that was a good. And I've always said that I enjoy the way you do your shooting, your video shooting, which we'll get into a bit too. But you really explain the stuff that you do, which is kind of good. So I don't know if you're aware of it, but you are teaching quite well when you're actually producing or shooting your videos. So.
Yeah, and see that makes me very, very happy, and that kind of stuff keeps me going, because I think of myself as just a Yahoo on YouTube. You know, if I'm considered a teacher, then that's great. Yeah. You know, that makes me very happy.
Yeah, so somebody in the chat wanted to know if you could light a fire from 9 feet away.
Yeah, I can, and I did. Oh, that's Rick. Rick's my buddy. I'm friends with him. He's a cool guy. Yeah, I got one from
well, sorry about that. Pop up there. That's awesome.
Okay. Hey, that Joe Robinette guy, you had him on about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's funny that years ago when I started out on YouTube, there was a bunch of people, and I'm not going to name names, but I haven't forgot you. When I was a young YouTuber, I would send them messages, and they just straight up would ignore me. Never answer me, never answer my questions. Well, Joe has got like 1.3 million subs, and I could imagine how many people bug him. But one time I sent him a question, and he answered me within like 30 minutes. And so I thought, man, that's pretty cool right there. Yeah. You know, Joe's a good guy.
Yeah, when you get numbers that big, it's kind of hard to do it. But I understand you like to respond, and you answer everybody back.
I do, and it's a struggle. It's an absolute struggle. It takes a lot of work to answer everybody. But you know, like I say, that's part of the reason why I'm on YouTube. That's part of the experience, is to converse with people. And the thing is I'm not an astounding genius of any kind. I've just done a lot of stuff, and I've learned a lot from comments. You know, the comments have opened up a world for me, because there's a lot of brilliant people out there that don't have cameras and don't want to be on YouTube and don't want to make videos, but they're very smart and they have a lot of knowledge to share. And so comment sections can teach you just as much as a video. And so a lot of y'all out there read comments. It's amazing what you can learn.
Yeah, and that's why, you know what, at the beginning of the show, I always ask, I appreciate it when people send me comments. It's not just because I want to see a million comments under my video. It's because I actually do enjoy reading them. And right now, being a smaller YouTuber, it's easier for me to answer, you know, maybe 20 or 30 comments than maybe for yourself, where you might get 200, 300, 400. You know what I mean? And I can understand some of the bigger YouTubers having a difficult time answering questions, but the fact that you actually make the time to do it, it says something about you. So that's awesome.
And I have a lot of friends too that are regular commenters, and you know, some of them have a great sense of humor. There's one guy named Terry, and that guy, he needs to be in a comedy club. His comments are hilarious. And there's a guy that lives in California named Chris. It's either Chris or Christopher. I'm not going to name his last name, but he's straight up homeless. And he's I don't know where he does his internet usage, but he's a homeless guy. And I swear, if you listen to what he types, you'd think he had a IQ of 180. This he's brilliant. He's a smart person. And why he's homeless, I don't know, but maybe he's so smart that, you know, maybe he just has trouble functioning because he's on such a higher level than us. But that guy, I mean, he's a brilliant person. But yeah, the commenters, they're great. I love reading comments. Except for I don't like the bad ones. I usually just delete them.
Yeah, I can try and get into a couple of questions here from people in the chat, as I always like to do. Sometimes I don't even get to ask all my questions because I like to take questions. But Mama Bear's Backpack is asking your most frightening time in the woods. Oh, my most frightening time in the woods? That had to be, I even did a video on this one time. It was in Johns Mountain, and it was Johns Mountain. It's not just one mountain. It's a huge mountain range in North Georgia. And this is when I was still living with my mom, and I was working at the steel mill. And
no, I can't remember if I was working at the steel mill or if I got a job in the machine shop yet. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I was still living at home. And I remember I got off work on a Friday and I thought, I think I'm going to camp. I want to camp. And so I ran home and I told Mom real quick. Mom wasn't there, so I left a note. I said, Mom, I'm going camping. I'm leaving. So I got together my stuff, hopped in the car and drove. And then I drove to where there was an area where it had a sign for, I'm trying to think. You know those signs they have this like national forest?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like a wilderness area, national forest area. So anyway, there was a sign there with a little parking lot and some picnic tables. And so I remember I parked there. And then I walked up the trail, and I walked and I walked and I walked. I walked as far as I could until I felt like it was kind of starting to get dark. So, and it was a weird thing because I'd been in the woods a lot, and I'd been in the woods by myself a lot, and nothing really bothered me except for the sound of a bobcat screaming. That's pretty scary at night. And but anyway, I went up there and I had a funny feeling because, like, you know that funny feeling that you got when you're being watched?
Mm-hmm.
That's a feeling that you can't fake. You know, it happens. And so I had a feeling that I was being watched, and I was very, very extremely uneasy. And I went up there and I think I made coffee that night. I did not make any food. Because I had food with me for the next morning because I was going to cook food the next day. But I think I made coffee, and I kept having that weird feeling, man. It was a weird feeling. And I remember I had a brand spanking new canteen that was hanging up, and I had a backpack, and I had a canteen on the backpack, and I left it there. And the other one, I made coffee with it. It's real vivid because I've gone over it a million times in my mind. And I kept having a feeling that I was being watched. So finally, I'm like, okay, I'm exhausted. I worked today. I got up early. I'm going to bed. So I crawl into this tarp, and I've got like a mat, and I don't remember if it was a sleeping bag now or a blanket. But anyway, went to bed, and I started just getting just a real creepy feeling. And then I started hearing these sounds. And it was sounds when I leaned out of the tarp and looked up, and I could see into the sky. You could see the trees going round and round, and you could actually see the wind going round in a big circle. And it was just a scary thing because it was like, wow, man, this is wind, but it's almost like I'm being surrounded. And so I kept trying to lay down, kept trying to go to sleep, and it was just such an uneasy feeling that I finally got out of the tarp. And when I got out of the tarp, I heard rustling coming through the woods. Okay, a bunch of leaves, a bunch of sound, a bunch of rustling. And when I looked, I could locate the noise, but I didn't see anything. And all this cracking of sticks and leaves and wind and noise went to a tree, and it stopped. And it went up the tree, and I watched it with my eyes as I could see. I could hear noise, and I could see branches moving. And then it went across my head through the trees, branches moving around, limbs falling down on me, leaves falling. And then I could hear it coming down the tree, and I could even, not only were limbs moving and leaves coming off, I could see bark coming off the tree, but I didn't see anything. There was nothing there. There was nothing there. And that is the absolute scared, not just in the woods, that's probably the most scared I've ever been in my life. And I distinctly remember grabbing my Alice pack, and I think I left the canteen behind because I had it tied up, and I left the tarp, and I grabbed the blanket and the pad and just ran. And I ran until I was just about to puke. I ran until I found the trail and ran down the trail, and I finally slowed down because I had to catch my breath. I felt like I was about to pass out. This was in the middle of the night. And, I wasn't even thinking. Normally, I don't run through the woods at night because you can get something in the eye. But I was so scared. The adrenaline was so hopped up. And I just went and I got in the car and I left. And I've never been back to Johns Mountain, and I'm never going. And after I did that video, people were like, you need to go back. You need to face your fears. And I'm like, I'm not. There's no reason to.
No, I don't.
And the more times I tell the story, the better I feel about it. Because like when I did the video, it was still real vivid in my mind, and it was just real scary. And when I did the video, I got, I don't know, it might have been 1,000 comments, and man, there were some good theories.
Yeah.
There were some good theories as to what it was. And
you always hear about these things like the Jersey Devil, and every area's got their own folklore, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You never know. Maybe it is true.
I found out later on that back in the 80s, not far from that area, there was these two college professors that were gay Satan worshipers, and they were from, I think, Chicago, and they both had like doctorates, PhDs. These guys were real educated, but there was something going on in their mind that they felt like living in a modern world and being a college professor and living in an apartment and having a nice car is not for us. So they quit their jobs as professors and they moved out into the Johns Mountain area and built a castle out of rock and lived out there together. And I don't know if they did drugs or not, but they invited people over to drink their homemade wine because they made their own wine. And somehow or another, these people found out about them, and they went over and drank some wine, and they shot both of them in the head and left them for dead. So,
wow,
you got to think about something. If you've got a hand-built castle and you have two devil worshippers that were shot in the head, that's some bad mojo.
yeah, man. I think I'd be steering clear of that area myself.
Now, if anybody wants to look up that story, there may or may not be some stuff on YouTube about it, but I know there's stuff on the internet. But just look up Corpse Wood Manor if you want to read the story. Corpse Wood Manor. Check it out. Yeah, wow. It's a creepy story. And the thing is people still go up there. The castle's since fallen down, but if you go up there and you rake the leaves away and you can find the floor, there's a big pentagram out of marble in the floor. And it just, some friends of mine went up there one time and they said, man, that's a creepy place. They said that whole area should be off limits.
Wow. So who knows what was flying through the bush that night, huh?
Yeah, I don't go up there no more. I don't mess around up there.
There you go, Mama Bear. You got to say, if you told us that around a campfire, there'd be a few knees knocking, I think.
Oh yeah. And I know everybody would really laugh and make fun of me for this, but if I had to describe what I saw, because I keep saying that I didn't see nothing, there was just movement of something and noise and leaves. I would have to say in the very first Predator movie, you remember when the Predator animal was scurrying up the trees and everything, and he was like, he had the like, what would you call that? Translucent camouflage?
Yeah, he was like, he was
invisible. That was the movement. Yeah, invisible camouflage. That was about like what the movement was like, and maybe it was so dark. I don't know. Maybe, people had the theory maybe it was a bobcat because they have the ability to do that. Yeah. But the problem with that is the movement was the size of a VW. It was a large ball of energy knocking.
Didn't care that you heard it coming, right?
Yeah, and I didn't know what it was, but I left and ain't been back. That's the most scared I've ever been. I've been almost that scared in downtown Atlanta before, but that's not the outdoors.
And if you guys haven't figured out, that's a Georgian accent that he has. I don't have an accent, you do. So.
I was born and raised here.
Yeah. So on to something else then. With your bushcrafting, like what's the coolest thing that you think you've done bushcrafting wise?
The coolest thing I think I've done bushcrafting wise, probably, and I think it's funny because I got some videos with a lot of views, and the one thing that I'm the most proud of that people don't really understand the depth of it, but my method for one person building a tree house out in the middle of nowhere. Because here's the thing now, some of these tree houses that you see, some of this stuff that gets done off camera, they have help. And some of this stuff, they'll drag a ladder out there. And there's nothing wrong with that because tree houses are great. Build them however you have to. But the method that I had, one person can walk out into the woods with nothing but, let me think, your cordage you got to have. Cordage and a folding saw and a machete. And the thing is one person with my methods on that video that I used can go out there and build a treehouse completely by themselves with no help. And to me, that's what I'm proudest of. Mm-hmm. I think that's an accomplishment because I know what it takes to build shelters, and I know what you need help doing, and I know what you need to cheat on. Like on a tree house, you have to have a ladder or you have to have a helper. And, if one person can go out there by themselves and build a tree house, and with the method that I've got, I had to do it at like, I think maybe 10 or 12 feet just for the sake of being able to film it. But with the method that I use, it could be done at 24 or 30 feet,
Right.
So, and there may be better things I've done, but that I'm the most proud of.
Yeah. So on the flip side of that, what would you say is one of your biggest failures as a bushcrafter? Something that you've tried doing and just could not get her done?
On video or off video?
Your choice, man.
Well, real quick, like I've done when I've done friction fire, bow drill, no problem. Hand drill, I worked at it until I got it. There's two other friction fires that I've done. There's one called the crooked stick fire I've done. There's one that's called the horizontal paracord fire that I've done. But the fire plow, I've never been able to do it. I've tried and tried and tried, and I can't do it. Some can, some can't. Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing is, I think we're getting feedback. Do you hear that?
I'm good on my end. Is everybody okay in there? Is everybody hearing us clear? Number one, if you're hearing us clear.
Might just be me then. But anyway, the other thing is I wanted to build a Dakota pit tent. I wanted to build a super high efficiency tent, okay, where the inside of it was done with a reflective mylar type material, and the outside was camouflage, and the frame was lightweight aluminum, however you want to pronounce it. That's a big joke on my channel because I can't pronounce it. So anyway, I built this thing with a Dakota pit tent, and it wound up doing great. At first, I had trouble evacuating the smoke, but it might have been the wood I was using. So it did good. So then I'm like, oh, hot shot me. I'm going to try something a little bit better. So what I do then is I built a lightweight aluminum stove out of a wok bowl. It's round, and it had a grill on top, and then it had a drawer underneath it that you could like bake cornbread or cookies in the bottom and then grill on top. Well, the thing is when I wrapped it, there was a chimney made out of fabric, carbon fiber fabric, and I wrapped it with a door. And here's my way of thinking, and everybody certainly straightened me out on that one, but I built a fire in it. And when I was a kid, if the wood stove door ever flew open, the fire would run away because it would draw too much air. Okay. Well, I thought to myself, I'm going to start a fire in here. And so I put wood in there into this carbon fiber chimney, and I closed it off because I'm like, I'm going to regulate the wood. But the thing is, underneath that bowl where the fire was, I had an infeed tube, and the chimney itself was tapered, round and tapered.
Oh, we got a little, David's frozen up there, people. Just stick around, wait for him to come back, hopefully. Not sure if you could see this, David, but you're frozen up there. So if you need to, you could drop out of the chat, and then you could pop back in again. Okay. Let's see. We'll give David a few minutes here to try and pop back into the stream. Apologize for that there. You know how the internet is these days. Sometimes it causes a little bit of panic. And that's where we're at right now, of course. So he's just dropped out. I think he's going to try and pop back in again. So that's awesome. I've been seeing a lot of questions coming into the chat. I apologize that I haven't been getting to them, but I will definitely get a few of these on here and get them answered. And if David's able to get back on, we'll probably get talking a little bit about his bushcraft knife collection and his machete collection, which he has a rather extensive collection of. So we'll wait to see if he makes it back in. And while we're waiting for him, you know what? I always do my my swag giveaway around 8 o'clock, but I guess this is a pretty good time as any to maybe try to get the swag giveaway given away. So let's see here. At the beginning of the show, I did an introduction of Dave, and I introduced him. And in the introduction, now what you need to do is you need to put the answer. The first 3 people that put the answers into the chat will win a Canoe Hound Adventure swag pack. I see you in the basement there, David. I'll be right with you. And yeah, so the first 3 people to get this answer correct will win the prize pack. How many years has David been bushcrafting? Put that in the chat. First 3 correct answers will win the prize. Hey there, welcome back.
Hey, I don't know what happened, but we are having thunder and lightning here and high winds.
Yeah.
Hopefully that won't happen again. What was the last thing you heard me say? I was talking about the Dakota Pit team.
I don't know, but you kind of froze like that. So yeah, you were talking about that and the pan. We're just gonna finish giving away a prize here. I see we got a few answers coming in, and then we'll get right back to your story. I figured I'd try and do the giveaway while we're doing that. Okay, so I think our first 3 prizes are already, or answers are in, and the answer was 32 years. 32 years he's been doing this, and the first 3 that I see on my chat here are Sty North, Crazy Ann, and Nifty Paddler. So if you guys want to drop me an email at canoehound@gmail.com, I think most of you already have that email address, and we will, you know what, I'm going to give away a 4th one too. Let's go to the 4th person, Beckett Nelson. You know what, I'll give away 4 this week. Beckett Nelson, if you can drop me an email as well. I need your full mailing addresses, and I'll get your decal pack sent out to you, with a possibility of a little bonus in there. And I won't say what it is because I don't know if it's going to happen 100%. You know what it is, David. We talked about it last night. But
you did it?
No, I may do it. If I get a chance, if I'm not too busy at the shop this week, I'll try it. I want one for my water bottle too. So
all right. Hey, somebody commented 9,000 years.
9,000 years.
Yeah.
There you go. So congratulations to those of you that have won. And like I say, drop me an email. Okay, so you were talking about the tent shelter that you were building, and
yeah,
smoke inside.
Yeah. What it was is, the thing is, you know, with a wood stove, if the door comes open, the fire will run away and the stovepipe will start glowing red because you're drawing too much air. More oxygen you feed, the hotter it gets. Well, I closed this carbon fiber off because I thought, oh, I'll regulate that air. But the problem is, I had an air inlet going under this round wok-shaped bowl, and then the carbon fiber itself was tapered. And so when I closed it off, I created a rocket stove. And it started sucking the air in the bottom and swirling it. And the funny thing is, you know the sound a jet engine makes, that woo? Yeah. Well, I closed it off, and then I was like, I'm like, well, I'm going to go get some more wood for the night because I was going to spend the night in it. Yeah. And I wanted to build a big fire in it to begin with, to make sure that chimney could take it. And then I was going to kick back to a smaller fire during the night, because you have to test things to an extreme before you sleep in them. So anyway, I closed it off, and as I started walking off, I heard a sound of like, oh. I'm like, oh, that's not good. And I turned around and looked, and I had a stainless steel lid, a stainless steel pot that I'd used for a chimney cap. And I looked at it, and it was glowing bright red. Wow. And I'm like, this is not good. And so, and I'm looking, I go in, and the carbon fiber's crystallized, and all of the camo around it it's terrible. That thing took off, man. I made a rocket stove.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was bad.
We got a lot of people in the chat actually talking or asking about your knives and your axes. Like, what's your favorite machete? Favorite axes? Tell us a little. I know you like your blades. Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your collection.
If I had a strong enough internet, I'd bring you to the other end of the gear room and show you my collection. But my favorite, I love all machetes, but right now my absolute favorite is the Ontario SP53. And a lot of people don't even know that Ontario and K-Bar make machetes, but they do. And I like both of those. And for a while there, I got kind of hung up on the Condor machetes, and I bought a bunch of them. And I've got a few other odds and ends of machetes, but the SP53 is my favorite. And as far as axes, I can reach right here behind me, right here. This is a Marbles 707, and it's not too big and it's not too small, because something that's too big, you can't pack in. But this Marble 707 is a very, very cheap axe. I think there's a 707 and a 709. One of them's 21 inch and one of them's like 19 inch. But it's just long enough that you can use, and the handle's just small enough that you can grip. But that's probably my favorite axe right there. And if you want to say hatchet, Council Tool, they make it's a 2.5 pound hatchet, and I think this is I don't know, that may be Dayton style. I think, does that sound right? Or no, Hudson Bay, I think. One or the other. I'm not an axe expert, but I do like axes. But anyway, that's my favorite hatch and my favorite axe. I've got like a double bit axe too that I like sometimes. The headphones are choking me. A lot of people don't realize that on a double bit axe, it's not just a point of having two axes. What you want to do is you want to put a real sharp angle on one end and a steep angle on the other end. That way you can use one end for chopping and felling, and the other end is for splitting. And to me, yeah, that's the reason why. And I got like, this is a Condor, and I've got it ground that way to where one end is for felling and one end's for splitting. As far as knives, that's almost impossible to say. The only way I could say anything with a name Mora on it would be my favorite. Yeah, because I've got a lot of different knives, a lot of high quality knives and a lot of cheap knives, but I love all Moras. They're just good knives. I like using them.
Yeah, they're certainly value packed, right?
Oh yeah, they are. For a production knife,
value for what you get versus what you pay. It's definitely a good expenditure. Now, you're a big fan of machetes too, and I think that's a tool you don't see a lot of people use nowadays. Yeah,
it's not, and honestly, they're safer than axes. And I've always tried to tell people that if you remember, axes are for removing your toes and hatchets are for removing your fingers. Because I mean, when you're swinging an axe or a hatchet, you really got to have accurate swing. And when it comes to a machete, you just about can't miss.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that's another thing. It's like when you've got an axe. Okay, when you got an axe, you swing it and you chop. Okay. Now, if you've got a machete, you swing it and you chop. But if you're if you're crafting, if you're doing wood crafting, like say, for example, if you've got a log and you're wanting to make a square out of it, instead of chopping, what you're going to do is you're going to baton here, baton here, baton here, and baton here. It's like a machete mixed with a folding saw, and you can craft anything. And as a matter of fact, I got a few videos in the past of cordless shelters, and I've got like a table. There's a design for a table that you can build, a table or a chair with no cordage whatsoever. It's all notching. And to me, that's the true essence of bushcraft. Cordage is great. I love paracord. I love rope. I love mule tape. But the essence of it is to notches and creating stuff out of wood only. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, just a machete is it's an invaluable tool without a doubt. I just love machetes. I wish I could show you the collection down there, but I don't have it's on video. But I mean, I was going to say,
I think you highlight a lot of your knife and your machete collection in most of your videos.
Yeah, Have you ever seen the machete that I made?
I won't lie and say yes, because I don't know. I can't. I'm not
sure. Got it right over there. You may grab it real quick.
Yeah, grab it. Let's see that thing.
Just take a second, okay?
Let's see that thing. Terry H., I'm sorry if I missed a question there. I see your comment there. If I missed a question, please, anybody that's putting questions in, please put a letter Q before your question so we can really see it on the screen there, and I'll try and get them up on screen so David can answer.
Now, I made this thing a long time ago. What it is a guy commissioned me to make him a machete, and I told him, I said, well, buy material big enough, and I'll make you one, and I'll make me one. So here's the machete right here. And it is a beast of a machete. If I get it out. You got to remember how this sheath works, because you have to pull the sheath one way.
No chance that's falling out of there anytime soon.
No, because it's got a thing that locks it, because it's kukri style.
Yep.
Can you see that?
Wow.
The handle is a gray Delrin plastic, and it's a 440 stainless steel, and it's 1/4 inch thick.
Wow.
That is a beast of a blade right there.
That'll take some chunks out of wood for sure.
Oh yeah, on a video a long time ago. It's very, very, very heavy, so I don't use it that often. But a long time ago on a video, I sat this on a stump and took a tree and batoned with a tree to test this.
Wow.
And the thing about the sheath is with the sheath right here, it's got webbing on it, and there's a place for the machete to go here. But this pocket you pull off, it's Velcroed on, and beneath the pocket is a diamond sharpener.
Great idea.
That's a 3M 125 diamond sharpener. And then inside the pocket is a cooking grill. These tubes, and this was back before whoever invented that one grill that you put together. But it's 2 pieces of stainless steel tubing with little holes in it.
Yeah,
and you take these little pieces.
We can see that.
Yeah, you take these pieces and you just all these pieces right here, and you put them together, and you've got a grill. So it's a grill inside a machete sheath. It was just one of my crazy ideas. That, and then after I built it, I had another idea for a thing called a Shavax. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Okay, what it is half shovel and half axe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and what this thing is it's got a lightweight cover on it here that's on. And this thing is made out of 440 stainless steel. And it's a shovel, as best as it can be a shovel. You can dig holes with it. And it's sharpened on the end. Let's see, it's sharpened on the end, and it's sharpened on one side. This other side is just all polished. And the thing about it is with the handles, it's got a twist. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Let me hold it this way. I'm having trouble getting that twist in there. That twist was hard to do. I don't know if you can see it, but the thing is the twist is in there so that you can use it for chopping straight down.
Yeah.
And you can also use it for digging. But that thing right there, everybody was like, oh, you should make them and sell them. Well, the thing is if those had to be produced, it'd probably cost about $1,000 to make out of 440 stainless.
Wow. And you made that, so I guess that's the benefit of being a machinist, right?
Oh, yeah, it is. It is, without a doubt. And the thing is when I did that, I don't know, it was like 2000, maybe 12, I think, a long time ago. I did the machete, and then I did the Shavax, and then everybody was like, oh, that's awesome. What are you going to come up with next? Well, the truth of it is I've been a machinist for 32 years, and you don't want to do it for that long and do it at work every day and then come home and do it at home. You know what I'm saying? You just it's still machine work. It doesn't matter what you're making. You just get sick of it, and you would much rather be doing something fishing or camping or hiking or whatever, you know.
Yeah. So we had a couple people asking about somebody had asked earlier in the chat. It was quite a ways up. I went looking for it but couldn't find it again. About how are you with like, you know, I'm sure being with the size of YouTube channel you have, you get a lot of probably gear thrust upon you to try out and stuff like that. How do you balance that? Trying new gear, or you know, or do you just stick with your tested and true stuff?
It's one of those things to where like people that offer me, so I get offers constantly on that kind of stuff. And if it's junk gear that I know is obviously junk, I say no way, absolutely not. And if the gear seems okay, then I tell them, I'm say, look, I don't do video reviews. I am not a reviewer. You will not catch me standing on my deck holding up something brand new and talking about how great it is. Brand new out of the box. This is great.
Yeah.
I don't do that. And I tell them, I say, I use gear in my videos. If you want to send it to me, I'll use it in a video. Then 90% of the time they don't send it.
Right.
But yeah, there's been a few things that's been sent to me, and I tell them ahead of time. They say they're like, hey, would you like so and so? And I'm like, I guess, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna make a video review on it. Absolutely not. And then they're like, I don't care. I just want to send it to you. And I'm like, man, that's great. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, I'm very thankful for it.
Yeah.
But I'm a pretty stubborn kind of guy. It's hard to make me change. And yeah, I'm stuck in my ways, and I'm pretty old school. And it's like, I don't want to insult anybody, but there's been a couple of things sent to me by YouTubers and fellow YouTubers, and they're just like, they're great products, but they're just not my cup of tea. You know, like you're never going to get me to love an alcohol stove. You know what I mean? I am a wood burner. I like to chop wood and throw it on the fire and burn with it.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of carrying. I know there's a lot, it's popular. I just don't like the idea of carrying a bottle of alcohol and pouring it in something and lighting it, and I can't see the flame.
Yeah, this is true, right? Yeah.
You know, yeah, I like a fire, and there's just some things that I'm not going to, and it's like this craze with the skin tight Under Armour, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be the greatest thing. That drives me crazy. I don't like skin tight polyester. I don't like it. And I don't see, but it's real popular. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, it's the moisture wicking stuff, supposedly, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The only moisture wicking anything is to me that's great is socks.
Yeah.
Have you ever been approached to mass produce and sell some of your creations? Let me think. 2 times there was a guy that he owned batch stoves, and as a matter of fact, it was an alcohol stove company. Isn't it funny? But anyway, this batch stoves guy, he saw my tripod keychain, and I had a keychain that you could take and you could stick it on top of 3 sticks, and it had a place where you could hold another stick for a pot holder. And so it was a real easy way, a no cordage tripod thing. And I showed it on the video, and he said, hey, I got a CNC machine. I think I could make those. He said, would you mind if I made them? And I said, go ahead. I don't care. I have a job. There's the gear market is flooded with competition. I don't want nothing to do with it. And so I said, yeah, you can have the idea. I don't care. So he put my name on it, and he sold it. And he did good as far as I know, I guess. And then there was a thing over in Japan right now that's real popular. And it's right up there. You want me to grab it? Hold on.
Sure. Yeah, this guy's got quite the gear room. Yeah, if you follow him, you'll see all kinds of neat stuff.
Okay, there's a guy in Japan, and his name's Harry, and he hooked me up with another. He had a thing that I had one time that was a tripod something. And I'm very proud of this. I think he did all the legwork, and I think it's great. But it's by Belmont Corporation. It's made in Japan. And see, this is the packaging for it. It's called the DH Tripod Ring. And the DH stands for David and Harry.
David and Harry.
Yeah, I gave him the idea, and here it is in the package. And on the back of it, it's got a picture of him and a picture of me.
Oh, yeah.
But what it is with this thing right here is you pull it out of the bag. I can't remember all the uses of it, but he did a great job, and him and a friend of his put the money up front for it. And I don't think this is available in America yet, but what it is you can flip it over and you can use these legs to put this underneath a stove of some kind. And it'll support your pot. And then the other thing that you can do with it is you can use this for a tripod, you can put legs. You can put a leg under each of these, and then you can put a pot holder stick or a chain right in the middle and hang over a fire.
Oh, okay.
So that's what he came up with this. And there was one other thing that this thing does, and I can't remember what it is right off the top of my head, but you could also use this at the top of a shelter for holding a shelter together, and then have a place for smoke to go out if you want to have a fire in the middle of like a tarp teepee type deal.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, that's the only two things that's ever been done. And this guy right here, he said, I like the idea and I want to market it. And I said, fine, go ahead. It's all yours. Do the leg work. And he said, if I get any royalties, I'll send them from you. And I said, don't. I said, keep every penny for yourself, because I have a job. I don't want to be rich. I just want to be me.
Mm-hmm.
You did all the leg work. It's your deal. If I wanted to market it, I'd market it. And I'm not interested because I'm not that big of a YouTuber, but I've met a lot of people and talked to a lot of people, and I've gone, all you got to do is go to the Blade Show in Atlanta, and you go to the Blade Show in Atlanta and you talk to some of these vendors and you get to know them and you find out who's crooked and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
And I know who my friends are, and I know who the ones that are that you just don't need to talk to.
Right. Yeah. Jeez. A couple more questions. A lot of people have been asking the question. It could be a few different things, but favorite gear, or what if you had one piece of gear to take into the bush? Most likely a knife. Which knife would it be? Your Mora?
If it was just a knife, yeah, it'd be a Mora probably. Either a Bushcraft Black or a Garberg. I love knives, but that's hard to limit down to. That's hard to limit down to one piece of gear because there's so many essentials.
Mm-hmm.
You got to stay hydrated. You got to stay dry. You got to stay warm. You got to sleep. You know what I mean? You got to be protected from bugs. It's hard to narrow it down to one. You know, and in reality, you have these people running around here going, "Oh, I'm going to go and survive with nothing but a knife." Your best bet, you better have something to boil water in.
Yeah.
You know, because you can take a piece of flint and smash it, and you've got a cutting tool right there, and then you can pile a bunch of branches and leaves or find a cave to sleep under. But it's hard to make a vessel that you can boil water in nature. It's just not easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, so how much time do you're a working man, and you say you're just an average Joe like everybody else in here. How much time do you actually spend in a week doing or practicing bushcraft? Is it something that's an everyday thing for you?
No, sometimes it's not possible because sometimes I work anywhere from 12 to 16 hours a day. And then my life is really like everybody else's. The truck breaks down, the car breaks down, you know, the wheels fall off the Jeep. You know, I have a pipe bust in a wall, fill a wall up with water. You know, the washing machine has stuff barfing out the bottom of it, refrigerator quits working, and on and on and on. You know, the basement floods. I can say that there's certain times that there's certain things that I do practice every day. Like a bow drill's not that big of a deal, but a hand drill, once you've learned a hand drill and you can do it, if you ever stop doing it, it is so hard to get back into the groove. And so sometimes I make an effort to go out in the yard and make a hand drill fire daily. And because you have to build up calluses on your hand to be able to take that. And it also, you have to build up your pec muscles and your I don't know what these are, deltoids, I think. But yeah, you have to build those up and get them conditioned. Yeah. I think these up here are trapezoids. It may be the deltoids there. I'm not sure. I'm not no medical guy, but I don't know. And the thing is, another thing too is like when I sharpen all of my knives, I keep them sharp. And the first thing I do is go make feather sticks, and I'm not going to let a feather stick go to waste. So I'll get out the ferro rod and strike a ferro rod, make a fire. I don't know. It's hard to say. And then like some weekends I'll get to camp, you know, for the whole weekend. I'll get to camp 2 nights. And then sometimes I go a month or 2 without camping, you know, and I'm not trying to be negative or anything about YouTube, but I'm just trying to say it from my perspective that anytime you bring a camera on a trip, it doubles the work and sometimes sucks all the fun out of everything. And so honestly, there's a lot of times that people are like, people are like, oh, why don't you just do an overnighter? And I'm thinking to myself, well, something, normally I'll go and I'll set a shelter up, because that's what I call, that's your own mode. Is when you're on camera and you're trying to smile and laugh and be entertaining, you know what I mean? And then you've got your off mode, and that's where you just want to lay there and you don't want to talk, you don't want to think, you scratch yourself and drink coffee and burp, you know what I mean? It's downtime. You got to have downtime. You can't be on all the time and being concerned about filming everything.
That's the thing. I know a lot of people in this chat here can attest to that. It takes a lot of work, and we're talking in the green room there, you, me, and the guy I'm going to bring on here in about 30 seconds. But we were talking about how last few times I've been out to my day camp, I just wanted to go out there and enjoy it. I didn't even bring my video camera with me. It's just to go out there and chill, right? You don't always have to be shooting unless you have a purpose for it. So, yeah. Or
you like doing things that everybody complains about.
Yep. I've got somebody sitting in the basement here. This is somebody that David's very familiar with, and you guys have probably seen him on many of my live streams. Bringing Sty North into the chat. Sty, how you doing tonight? Oh, wait, somebody got him on mute. You're muted. Yeah.
I didn't want you to hear me laughing in the basement or cheering you on, or I just love listening to David. I tell you, you talking about your little scary camping trip. Awesome story. I'm a storyteller, and people don't realize storytellers, it's just like you're talking about YouTube. You go in the woods and you feel that burden of having to film everything and do everything for YouTube, and you just want to be there. Storytellers are that way too. There's times we like to sit back and hear somebody else tell the story for a change. And that was great. Well put. Everybody was into it. I could tell by the chat.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and the thing is you don't want to make a bad video. You want to make a good video, and so that takes effort, and you have to pay attention to what you're doing, and all these different camera angles and everything. And then it's like, today I went kayaking, early, and with the kayaking, I tried to make a video out of it, and honestly, I don't know if I'm going to edit it and upload it, or if I'm just going to ditch the whole project, because it was a horrible video, and I didn't catch any fish, none. It was a terrible day.
It's because you didn't run them over like the other guys did.
Yeah, you had to run it over. You were saying that guy was pulling his boat out.
Nobody knows that story but the three of us. For those of you that are listening, these two guys, I'm in this kayak and I've got all this homemade junk all over it, my 2 fishing rods. And these guys, they're got like on their Columbia shirts, and they've got like 10 fishing rods each, and these big screen $3,000 depth finders. And I'm like, man, these guys are cool. I was like SpongeBob, like, wow. So they said, yeah. I said, how'd y'all do today? And they said, oh, we did terrible. We skunked out. I said, we didn't catch anything. And I'm like, man, that's not a good sign, because I'm a bad fisherman myself. But if these guys skunk out, then I know I ain't gonna catch nothing. And so the one guy's talking to me, the real big guy, and then the skinny guy's over there pulling his kayak up on the land. And the guy looks down, and he's like, oh, look, Wade, you got one. And what he did is he actually drug his kayak over a fish, and the fish was in a turmoil and flopping and jumping to where it was in shock. And the guy dived in there and grabbed it and held it up, and look, redemption, we got a fish. And I said, yeah, you drug your kayak over it and killed it. I said, that's like a buddy of mine that went all deer season and didn't harvest a deer, but then at the end of the season he hit 2 of them with his car. And that was a source of disdain amongst his coworkers, because they were betting on who could kill the most deers that year. And they marked their name on the dry erase board, 1010, and then over here they put Tony 2.
Never had to fire a shot.
No.
I had an incident last summer camping where it was I got a new sit-on kayak, and it was only the second time I ever put it out in the water, and I knew the lakes. I was at two. They're called Twin Lakes campgrounds right down the center of the two, and I knew the fish in both lakes. I thought this is gonna be great. I got in my brand new kayak. I got new fishing rods. I'm out there fishing all thinking day. Never caught a thing. Never got a single bite. I come in that evening and I see this fella standing down by the little boat landing where we put our canoes and kayaks in. And I walk down there just to visit, just introduce myself, visit. And I get down there, and what's he got? He's got a bushcrafted hand fishing rig. It's just a bunch of line wrapped around a stick, basically.
I got a beautiful
I hope you're getting your mount.
Yeah, they're now that's fancy. That's fancy compared to the one this kid got. Yep.
Dark DIY, Dark Matter DIY.
Yeah.
He made this. This thing is beautiful. It's a work of art.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And so that kid's out there spool fishing like that, and I'm talking to him, and he goes, "Oh!" And he drags this big, almost dinner plate size sunfish out, and he goes, "Wow, I'm lucky tonight." I said, "How many of them you caught?" He says, "About 15 so far." I said, "You see that kayak parked over in that campsite with all that nice fishing gear on it? It can't catch a single fish." I said, "I'm going back to my camp. I'm going to make one of those and stand on the shoreline like you." I mean, I was so dang embarrassed, You go out there with hundreds of dollars worth of junk, and you don't catch the stinking thing, and some kid bushcrafting style is sitting there just raking them in.
I know the feeling, man. We just went trout fishing yesterday, and me and Nick was down there standing by the stream, and we got on like our long sleeve Columbia shirts, and we got like our Columbia hats and our Costa glasses, and I got a bamboo net hanging off my back and a creel and a vest and all this stuff. We got all this nice equipment, and we're there. We see this trout. There's trout everywhere, and we're casting over there and trying to catch them. Can't catch them for nothing. And so this guy comes pulling up in a 4-door Toyota, and he's blaring Phil Collins from back in the 80s real loud. So he gets out of the car, and he's wearing one of those wife beater tank tops, you know what I'm talking about? And he's all covered in tattoos, and his hair's all messy and real long. He looks like a rock star. And so he gets out and he goes down there, and he's got this little short automatic looking, those Barbie casters?
Yeah.
They're about 3 feet long. So he gets out and he goes down there, and he looks, he's looking around, and he's looking, and then he goes down there and he gets his trout bait out of his box, puts it on the hook, and casts over there and just sits there for a while. He's smoking a cigarette, just sitting there smoking, and he'll look down, then he'll reach down and grab the rod and jerk it, and he's got a trout rolling it in. And within like 20 minutes, he's got 8 trout. He looks at us and he says, he lights up a cigarette and he says, "Well, boys, I'm going to leave y'all with it."
Yeah. It's time for me to go and have supper.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's them old boys that just show up and they do it and they go. Yeah.
David, I mentioned that you were a bit of an inventor. Let's talk a bit about some of your cool inventions. You showed me one last night that you made there for your camera.
Oh, yeah. Let me think. Where'd I put it? Which one is it? Oh, okay. All right. Now, this is something that may help out anybody that makes videos. All right. Let me reach over here and grab it a minute. Let's see.
This is high-tech bushcrafting we're getting into now, people.
High-tech. Oh, that thing. Oh, okay. All right. I got to show you this thing right here. Now, if anybody's ever seen those shows like something like Ghost Adventures, and they've got or any of those reality shows where they've got a guy talking and they've got the cameraman showing the cameraman, and they've got this big assembly on here. Well, when you're making a video, if you're holding a camera like this right here, you're like all wobbling all over the place and shaking and everything, and it's not good. Well, I invented a thing. I took 2 pieces of wood and I carved them like this. All right. And then I put this thumb screw at an angle, and then I took a piece of padding and I cut it out with a radius, and then I covered it with cloth and stapled the top and put some duct tape on it. And what you do is you rest it on your shoulder and you hold it like this.
High-tech
bushcraft gear. But see, I mean, you've got it balanced on your shoulder and you got your camera right here, you know, so.
A lot easier to keep stable that way.
Yeah, Nick uses that thing.
Now I got to build one of them. I got the same Canon camera you were just showing. That same.
You do?
Oh, I got two of them. I dropped one in the river last year, and now the pop-out screen doesn't work, but it still films. So I use that as like a trail camera. You know, set it up down trail and hike towards it, kind of thing, because I can't see the screen. But the other one, but that's the problem I have is I've got it on one of those flex leg tripods. And my day pack, it's got a chest belt on it, right? On my day pack, this is a harness type day pack. And I stick two legs of it down through the harness, and then I take the third leg and I bend it out, and that third leg's poking me right in the navel. And that's got my camera mounted on it. So when I'm hiking down the trail, it's like I got a chest mounted camera. And but I thought so many times, because I got to turn my whole body to make sure to get something, you know. Yeah. And I thought so many times, I need something that I can hold stable and hike down the trail and be able to turn with the dang thing. You just give it to me, bud, just like that cooker. Yep.
Well, I've got another thing besides this, because like I said, this is something that you hold and you're filming everything out here. But now if you want to film yourself, I've got another thing over here. It's called a steady cam. Have you ever heard of that? No. Hold on. Let me get it. Hold on.
See, these are the fun things. Eh? Like you get into bushcrafting. It doesn't always have to be in the bush stuff. It's about inventing stuff and just making pretty cool stuff out of the stuff you have.
Right. All right, now what this is
common items.
Let me see. Let me grab this again. Man, I wished I had a nice microphone like y'all had. Now what this thing is, this is just a padded. This is a thing that you put a paint roller on.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now underneath this inner tube right here, I have it's a Hound joint, or what's called a rod end.
Yeah.
See right here. And what you do with that thing right there is, see that thing right there, it's very precision as far as it'll move around. It's a bearing. And what it is up on the top is you mount the camera up here on the top, and then on the bottom of this PVC pipe, I've got like some pipe in here with there's a big old bolt inside this piece of pipe. And what it does is when you're walking down the trail with this thing right here, you're holding it, and as you're walking along, this thing right here, see how this thing swings?
Yeah.
Well, what it is the counterweight of it is if you hold it pretty steady way out here on the end, it'll hold the camera steady, and you can film yourself with it.
Without that,
it's like you've invented your own gimbal.
Yeah, it's like a big gimbal for a big camera.
Yeah. And there's something similar to it. If you look up, there's something similar to it that's called a steady cam, and you can look that up on YouTube. Now, another thing is I'm going to tell you, a lot of you kayakers and canoers that are making videos.
Yes, please.
Well, okay. I understand now, like with a kayak or a canoe, a lot of times you don't want to shoot everything from inside your boat. You want to put your camera on shore and ride by, okay? Well, let's say that you've got your camera here, all right, and you've got this little bitty tiny viewfinder here, okay? Now, this little bitty viewfinder, can you tell if you're in shot or not from real far away?
Heck no.
Okay, let me let you in on my other little trick.
I love this one.
I showed Dennis the other night on this thing. What this is a Velbon tripod. Okay, so what you do is you mount your camera on here. Let's see right here a minute. Put this on. All right, you're gonna mount your camera right here. Okay, now let's say for example you've got this right here. You see that little bitty tiny thing? Okay, how do you magnify this so that you can see it from a long distance off? not just canoeing and kayaking, but if you're just video making, period. Well, let's just turn this thing around backwards. And let's say that we've got a mirror back here. Now, if you've got a mirror back here, let's see if I can get this in.
There it is.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, now, you see this? You're reflecting back here. Well, what you want to do is get you a 2X mirror. Okay, see it there? Now look at it. Can you tell it's bigger?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. See? See the difference?
See, that's just the way this fella thinks, folks.
And you can even get I got one tripod. I got one tripod that's got a 3X mirror. And you just mount it on something where you can pick it up from behind it. It just explodes your viewfinder.
Yeah.
That's what you call homeboy.
I have an outdoorsy guy says it's a hillbilly gimbal.
Yeah.
That's like I say. Bushcraft doesn't always have to be stuff that you're doing out in the middle of nowhere, right? You work with what you got. And,
right. Oh, and the thing is video making in itself lends to your creativity and you inventing things. As a matter of fact, I've got this thing outside and I'm not going to go get it. But what it is it's a special built ladder that's like 12 feet long and it's real narrow and it's just enough to go climb up. I mean, I wouldn't want to paint a house from it, but on one end it's got a wheel, on the other end it's got a camera mount. And in my earlier days, I don't do it anymore because I've gotten so lazy, but in my earlier days, I'd put my backpack back there where the wheel is, and it's like a 12-foot long wheelbarrow, and I would walk through the woods, and when I got to my campsite where I was going to do the filming, I would lean the ladder against the tree and climb to the top, and I'd get a 12-foot shot going down towards my campsite.
You know, a lot cheaper than a drone.
Oh, yeah. And I've got a drone. Listen, I got a drone. I wanted to be like everybody else. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have a drone. And so the first time I got it, I'm like, I'm going to do an overhead shot. I went way on up in the air and the wind blew and blew it right over into a big oak tree. And that's where it is today. First time I ever used it. And I got so mad, I said, I'm done. No more drones for me. Because, you know, if you're out in a big open field, or like, say, if y'all were like canoeing or kayaking across a lake, that's fine and dandy. But when you're in the woods, you can't do it.
Yeah. And me as uncoordinated as I can be, I'd have to have an aquatic drone if I took it out when I'm kayaking. Because I know I'd put it in the drink. I know I would. That, you know, Dennis was talking about, you know, all these neat little inventions you do, David. I did a little last summer at one of my camps. I did a little video where I did a bushcrafting rant because I was getting beat up by a bunch of folks about, oh, you old fart, you're not a true bushcrafter anymore. We see you out there, you got this and that, and they didn't have Coleman stoves. Bushcrafters don't use Coleman stoves. Well, I decided I got to put an end to this. So I did a little rant video. And I got on there and I basically said, you know what? If you want to listen to these so-called professional bushcrafters, you go right ahead. But as far as I'm concerned, because I love history, all the true bushcrafters, they're all dead. I mean, they're all dead. There aren't any Neanderthals anymore. There aren't any Cro-Magnons wandering around and living in nomadic tribes anymore. Our Native Americans are the ones that still try to follow a lot of the traditional bushcrafting skills. Bushcraft is something brand new. How can you say it's... And I said, you know, I told all my viewers, every one of you is a bushcrafter. Even if you live in town and all you did was go take a walk in the city park and you go, oh, look at here, and you pick up 2-3 sticks and you start messing with them and you made something out of them. Guess what? You're a bushcrafter. And what is the definition of a bushcrafter? It's a crafty person that goes out in the bush. That's exactly what a bushcrafter is. You use whatever's to your access to fabricate the things you need to thrive outside. That's a bushcrafter.
Oh, I mean,
yeah. This whole, it's got to be pure primitive skills. And like you were talking earlier, you know, some of those skills you got to keep up on. Look what I got. And it's always right here on my studio.
practice.
a piece of Jerusalem artichoke, and I sit here and I got to keep my hands toned all dang winter when I'm not out in the woods, so that I can start a hand drill fire when I'm back out. And the thing is, I found I live in an apartment building, for crying out loud. And people say, well, you're not a bushcrafter. You live in an apartment building. You don't even have a yard. I've got a 1 million acre national forest that's 10 minutes down the road from me.
Right.
So tell me I don't have a backyard. And I did find out, though, certain bushcraft skills you can practice anywhere, even in an apartment. I sit here and I whittle, and I'm a lousy whittler, but I love to whittle, so I whittle. It's a mess. I got to clean it up, of course. But I found out you can't practice fire starting living in an apartment building. There's 82 apartments in this building. They all ended up out in the parking lot, and the fire department was here because I set off the building's fire alarms doing hand drill in Shaga. The smoke set the alarms off. These alarms don't like Shaga smoke at all. And I mean, the whole city showed up to find out, did anybody survive that big 8-story building fire? No, it's just an old man up there with a stick practicing some crafting in his living room.
So David, Sty practices his bushcraft in his apartment. Where do you shoot most of your videos? Do you have like a big piece of property? Are you near a wooded lot?
Well, the thing is, it's hard to say because I wind up going everywhere, and I don't know if some of it is borderline trespassing or not. I have no idea because, some of it is like your best friend is going to be the tax map. If you can find a tax map for your area, and you'll pinpoint certain areas, and certain areas, if they've got a number on them, you can click on it, and it'll tell you who's paying taxes on that land. And some of them may be owned by the county, some may be owned by the city, some of them it may say U.S. federal government, and there's some of them that I found out. Did either of y'all ever hear me talk about Snake Island?
Yes.
Okay, well, I went to clicking on Snake Island and the area around it. There's 11 islands there and a series of creeks. When I got a hold of the tax map, I clicked on it, and nobody owns it. And it's because it's a part of the floodplain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, see, it's like, when you look on the tax map, it shows the rivers, okay, and along the rivers, nobody owns the rivers, okay.
Right.
Well, those yellow lines, like say everything else is red lines and blue lines, so those yellow lines that are going along the river happen to go along that area, and it's a floodplain, and it means that nobody can ever build anything there. And so if you can ever find a place like that and you can get it, and it's especially good if a big boat won't go in. If a canoe or a kayak can go in, you don't have to worry about other people showing up in there.
Right, right.
When I go in there, and in the past, I had some friends that had some private property, and then there was some swampland that I used to love to go to, but they wound up putting a big I don't know what you call it, a bypass. It was a big 6-lane road they put through there, so I can't go through there no more. At some of the places I go, they have deer hunting there, and I can't go. And I just kind of jump around from place to place. I have different places that I have to go. And a lot of times I wind up, for the sake of making a video, I do them in the backyard just because I don't have time to pack up and go somewhere. And, this coronavirus going on, I just assume make the videos at home and not even go anywhere.
Yeah.
See, and that's it's tough for me, so folks understand that. I mean, like Dave said, he's got a full-time job. He works, and then life has its way with you, and you're trying to squeeze in some content for the folks that like to follow you. I'm retired. I got no obligations. You wouldn't believe how hard it is for me to get out there and get content done. It seems like everybody says, oh, well, he's retired. He don't work, so he can do things for me. So, I mean, you'll find out when you retire. No, you're not retired. Now you just work for everybody.
Oh, and
I think that's because you spend 30 hours a day on YouTube.
Yeah, well, see, and that's it. And thank goodness for YouTube, and that's where I get grief too now, is because I spent all winter YouTubing it, live streams, most of it, and videos right from my studio.
Yeah.
Well, I busted my ankle out camping late last summer. It took 8.5 months for that to heal. Now it's ready to go, and I'm ready to go out. First thing I did when I went out, Dennis, you saw my video, didn't you? When I fell off of the
Sty Falls?
Yeah, out at Willard Falls, Sty Falls. I went out to this remote waterfall that I never even knew existed, and I took one wrong step, and I slid 35 feet down an embankment and hit a pine tree, the last lone pine tree on that embankment. After that, it was over 50 feet right to the rocky shore of that river, straight down. And I mean, I could have gone, woohoo, right off. That could have been my last YouTube video. But I had the camera running when I slipped and fell. So you can see me sliding out, and the camera dives right into the pine needles on the forest floor. And everybody's screaming and hollering at me, Sty, you old fool, you're going to kill yourself. You know, we don't want you to do that. And I'm telling them, hey, you got to get out and you got to live it. And there is risk. And it's just like the COVID thing. To me, it's less risk for me to go and almost fall off this huge waterfall. There's less risk of that than there is of me getting this virus at Walmart. You know, so that's why I escape to where there's nobody else. I just get outdoors.
And see, that's the thing too. I would never say anything to anybody about what they do or what they carry or what they use, because, like, let's just say, for example, okay, you know, the primitive technology guy, the guy that runs around in shorts and builds mud huts.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's awesome. But
if that's what they love doing, do it.
Yeah, and he's good at it, and it's amazing to watch. But the thing is, not everybody can do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, it's like other people, if they have to bring a tent and a sleeping bag, I'm not going to badmouth them, because maybe that's all that they've got time for. Yeah. You know what I mean? Anybody that brings any kind of gear and does anything, I'm not going to badmouth them.
See, David, I started a new series, and I've only done, I think, 6 episodes so far, and it's called Taking in the Outdoors. And it's just a weekly video I do. And it's all it's about is all the hundreds of different ways you can take in the outdoors. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're wheelchair bound. If you can get to an open window, you can learn to take in the outdoors and appreciate the outdoors. And nobody should ever hold it against you because you're limited to what you can accomplish outdoors. If you're getting anywhere near it and taking it in, you right there, you just put the frosting on your cake. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to be this ultimate bushcrafter. You don't have to be the ultimate whitewater paddler. You don't have to, you need to be what you are for the best of yourself, and go ahead and push yourself to your limits. Don't expect to meet somebody else's limits, just yours, and take satisfaction in that. And I love channels like yours. People tell me, well, and in fact, Dennis and I talked about it. I said, I don't know why he don't have 1.5 million, 2 million subs. But then I stop myself and I go, well, I kind of know why he does. It's because that's not what he's in it for. He's not looking for it. He's got an organically grown channel. He attracts people that like the realness of your channel. They love the you're so explicit in everything you do. They walk away going, I think I can do that. And I proved it because he made this awesome Dutch oven, homemade Dutch oven for packing. I went and I replicated it, and I can't weld. And he welded his up he made one hell of a pretty kit, I tell you. I got out there and I go, all I've got is an electric drill. What can I do? And I mimicked something Dave made. And back then I was so scared of mimicking anybody. I messaged him and said, I made a video of it because I made one like you, but I didn't weld. I said, is it okay if I post that? And he goes, well, yeah, I want to see it. So I did. I posted it. It was a huge success. Man, I ended up with over 400 additional subs because of that one video. Well, it was just because it was something totally different. And I took it out and actually used it. They got to see me go just like David did, right from scratch, all the way from preparing your fire to how you set it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I made a big blueberry muffin, right? To eating the muffin,
Yeah.
But the thing is I couldn't climb just like Dave's because I don't have those skills, mechanical skills he has. So I had to come up with an alternative, but still came up with the end product. And I think everybody should treat the outdoors that way. What is the end product you can have? What can you get out of it? You don't have to be somebody else to enjoy it.
You don't have to be rich either. And it's like I was telling him too, a minute ago I said there's nothing wrong with having a tent and a sleeping bag, right. But if you go camping with a tent and a sleeping bag 7,000 times,
it gets boring.
The excitement's gone. You need to do something else, man. Get you a tarp or get you a hammock or sleep up in a tree house. You know what I mean? Yep. And the same thing with like cooking. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, there ain't nothing wrong with a Superfly stove or an alcohol stove, but 5,000 times, try something different. Make a cook set. You know what I mean?
And I'll tell you what, mountain house 3 times a day for 7 days gets pretty boring. Not
hey guys, just want to welcome to the stream here. We got Nicholas Green Outdoors.
Hello.
Come up and meet you there, David.
Hello.
Hey, Nicholas.
Yeah, I was able to jump up. Usually the panel's full up here, but
yeah,
glad I was able to jump up, meet you.
Question here for David from Nate Muskoka. What's David's take on the 5 C's or his version?
My version, the 5 C's are pretty much the 5 C's for anybody. I mean, there's if you have a cutting tool, okay, how are you going to veer from that? The cut, okay, combustion device. That's up to you. Are you if you're a survival expert, bring 2 lighters. If you're a bushcrafter, bring flint and steel. If you're a hobbyist, bring a ferro rod. I mean, it's
if you're me, you bring all of the above.
Yeah. Cover. Everybody uses a tarp. If you don't use a tarp, bring a tent. Tent's considered a cover. Yeah. Let's see, carbon, cutting tool, cover, 3 of them.
Cordage.
Yeah, cordage. Okay. Yeah, well, with cordage, I love rope, I love paracord, and I love mule tape. And I'm growing more fond of bank line.
Bank line. I love bank line.
Yeah, bank line's good, but like some of the stuff I do, like you want to weave a bed or a hammock or something, that bank line will cut into your back. So will paracord. You have to have rope.
It's got its place.
Yeah.
I still haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, not to mention if you happen to find yourself on the set of a Discovery Channel show, you're going to need the ropes that you can go down a cliff to survive. You know what I mean? It's stupid shows. They don't ever have people out there really surviving. They've always got to go down a cliff for some reason.
Use a grapevine.
A waterfall. We got to go to a waterfall.
Right. Yeah. Now, I saw a video. I wish I could remember who it was, and so I could put you guys onto it. But I saw a video where a guy, he was out, doing the whole survival thing. And he was giving an instructional video on how to make a rope out of 550 paracord. And when he got done, he blocked my comment. I commented in there and I said, I used to be a tree climber. I had a tree service back in the late 70s. And I said, I could buy the highest end climbing rope with an 1,800-pound brake capacity on it for about a third of what you spent in paracord to make that damn rope. And your rope was only 20 feet long, and the rope I was buying was 125 feet long. I mean, so, and I put in there, so what is the reasoning behind making a rope out of paracord? He couldn't answer it, so he deleted my question.
Oh. I guess if you was in, say, one of them survival situations, maybe you could. But the thing is that why risk it? Find a different way down. And the thing is paracord is a static line. It doesn't give. You fall and jerk, it'll snap it. But the one other C that I was talking about,
container.
Container. Yeah, I mean,
I was going to hold one up.
Yeah, it'll either be a canteen, or those fancy stainless things. I got a couple of them around here somewhere. I don't know. It's hard. The 5 C's or the 5 C's. It's hard to veer from it. You can just, they do the same job. If you want to talk about something that nobody ever talks about that they really should, because the 5 C's covers hiking, backpacking, bushcrafting, camping, survival. If you want to talk about, they call them the 5 C's of survival. Well, if you want to talk about something survival related only, then you need to talk about the 5 H's of survival, and nobody talks about it. Have y'all ever even heard of it?
Yes, I've heard of it.
You have? Okay. And I don't know if I can remember them all. The 5 of them is hypothermia, hyperthermia, hydration, hyponatremia, and hypothalamus.
Yeah.
See, those are things that are related to the whole idea behind survival is you're worried about getting out alive. And so you need to be concerned about hydration, temperature regulation, and whether or not you're going insane from stress. And so, not many people even talk about them. Not many people even heard of them, but those are survival directed only. 5 C's of survival are actually the C's of pretty much anything outdoors that you need to bring with you.
The 5C video I did on my channel, and this is quite a ways back, it was called 5 C's plus 1. And if you're looking at just the 5 C's, there should be 6. The 5, everybody agrees with the 5, but there's a 6th one that so many people leave at home. And that's common sense.
Yeah, really.
If you don't bring that C with you, all the other 5 aren't going to do you much good. That was something I argued about too, and a few bushcrafters didn't like. Well, survivalists didn't like it. Is it the 5 C's of survival, or is it the 5 C's of survivability? Well, they can't be the 5 C's of survivability, because ability is something that you have acquired through hands-on experience. Mm-hmm. So if you don't already have survivability, they're just 5 C's of survival that can be applied to you surviving.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the survivability skills, they do you no good.
The TV shows have ruined what real survival is, because I know y'all seen them, and they're like, the show alone to me is not a survival show. It is long-term wilderness living.
Right.
Because the idea behind survival is to get out and get home. And in alone, they're living there. But now some of the other shows, like the old Dual Survival and Man, Woman, and Wild and Bear Grylls and all them, they were acting like, oh, I've got to get some food. I got to kill this. I'm going to eat this snake. And Bear Grylls grabbing a trout out of the stream and eating it raw. The thing is stay hydrated, stay dry, regulate temperature, and get out.
Survival should not be more than a 72-hour adventure. You start getting beyond 72 hours, you need more skills than it takes to just simply survive. And I had a wilderness camp for 4 years. I was the lead instructor at a wilderness camp, and our camp was called Wilderness Thriving Fundamentals. And WTF, yeah. And I didn't even realize it till we incorporated it, and I saw the acronym. I'm going, oh no, what the? Oops. We should have thought about the name, I guess. And that was our principles, was we taught wilderness thriving, not wilderness survival. Right. You have, if you acquire the proper base skills, you can go out there and actually thrive in the wilderness. And if you have that ability and you can thrive in the wilderness, survival now is not an issue, because you already know how to thrive in the outdoors. So if you find yourself in that precarious situation, you're stuck out there, to you, it's camp. I can set up camp. I want to get found, but I can set up camp. I know how to make myself comfortable, and I'm going to get by. If I got to get by for 3 weeks, I'll do it, because I've learned how to thrive in the outdoors rather than just survive in the outdoors. And a lot of people, and that's one problem I see with YouTube, is people don't realize everything we talk about, everything we do on our channels is regional. It all has to do with the environmental conditions of your region. They change all over just the U.S. From coast to coast. It changes so dramatically. So it all depends on where you are. You would not survive in New Mexico with the skills you need in northern Wisconsin.
Oh, I agree. Hey, drop me off in the desert.
I would not survive down with David without David.
Yeah.
I know some stinking snake's going to get me, or something's going to bite my butt down there, that I don't know of, that I'm not used to.
Yeah.
Right.
So David, last night you and I, when we were talking, discussing tonight's show, we were talking a bit about that. What, in your opinion, makes a bushcrafter a bushcrafter? You know what I mean? A lot of people like to put that tag on themselves. I am a bushcrafter.
Probably making anything.
Yeah.
In the woods, and it leads back to what I was saying about everybody can't do what everybody else does. Like the primitive technology guy running around in shorts, creating everything out of mud and bamboo. You know what I mean? That's great, but not everybody can do it. The average guy, and it's like making stuff. Like when you go out into the woods, to build a proper debris hut takes about 12 hours. And who wants to do that? You know what I mean? Instead, to me, take your folding saw and your knife or your machete or whatever and go out and build a frame and then cover it with a tarp you brought, okay? Now, there's a lot of people that be like, boo-hoo, you brought a tarp. You're not a real bushcrafter. Well, the thing is you built the frame for it. You know what I mean?
It's a combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it can be a combination of things. You can't, the average person, you can't build it all, especially not in one weekend. Not when you got to be back at the fish market on Monday. You know what I mean? but just, or if you practice any kind of primitive fire of any kind, hand drill, bow drill, fire plow, or flint and steel, or anything like that, building chairs, building tables, whittling spoons, making them fancy wooden cups. I don't know how to pronounce the name. Cuscas, I think. Cookset, yeah. If you don't never go out in the woods, okay, but if you pick wood up on the side of the road, or if trees fall and you get pieces of them, and you sit on your back porch every day carving Cuscas, I consider that a bushcrafter, because you have made something out of wood. You have taken a knife or a crooked spoon. I mean, a crooked knife, or there's a name for them. I don't forgot the name of them. There's a technical name for them, but you know what I mean?
We just call them spoon knives.
Well, there's a technical name for them, right? And I can't remember. There's some native people up in Canada. There's a guy, Caleb Musgrave. You ever heard of him?
No, you were talking about him last night, and I've never heard of him.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, Caleb is he does Canadian bushcraft, and he's got another buddy that makes those knives, and I have completely forgot the name of them. It's some sort of a native name, like Nagagashikashi or something. That there's. I mean, I know I'm making fun of it. I'm just saying that it's a native type name that I can't pronounce. There's a proper name for that tool, and I don't know it.
But actually, go back, if you go to and do the background on Mora knives. Mora, that's where they started, was making spoon knives and other utensil creating whittling knives. That's where Mora actually started. Now, those spoon type knives go way, way, way back into ancient times. They were making them. So
yeah,
in the early Iron Age, they were making them. So it's neat though how, again, it's like I said, regionally, that's like Bannock. you look at the history of bannock, everybody thinks it came out of Canada or it came from the lower Native American tribes. No, it didn't. It came out of Scotland. I mean, look at the history of bannock and follow it and find out where that original process of making bannock came from. Well, it kind of narrows itself down to Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
So how did all of a sudden it change? And it's because you bring it into a different cultural environment and they modify or they do something different with it and it becomes theirs. And that's the way bushcrafting to me is too, is each person needs to make bushcrafting theirs, and do what they can.
It just came to me. It's like Moktagan is the type of knife, and it's nicknamed a Moky, M-O-K-Y. Y'all look up Moky knife, M-O-K-Y, Moky. That's the nickname. That's short for, that's like Moktotagan or Moktogugan or something, but that's the traditional real name for a curved knife.
There in the woods with Bigfoot's got it down there in the chat.
Namakagan.
Oh, he did?
He's looking for. Yeah.
Oh, wow, I can't see it. I had the chat up on my phone, but the battery died.
There it is. Putting it up on the screen.
There it is up on the screen.
See, because the reason why I asked that is, I've always said here on my show, and I stress it to everybody that sometimes I think a lot of people take the word or the term bushcrafter out of context, right? Like I'm an outdoorsman. My main forte is I like the canoe, right?
Yeah.
And I have bushcrafting skills. I have a skill set of things I do, but I've never really called myself a bushcrafter, right? So that's why I just wonder what your take was on that, because like I say, some people, they think everything is just bushcraft, and it's not all about that. It's about getting out there and experiencing this stuff. And if you take on a skill set and to mimic somebody like yourself, David, say for instance, your channel, you've got like 1 million videos on there. Well, maybe not that many, but you're closing in on it, right? But that's the whole purpose of it. You post these things so people can learn from it. Do you become insulted when somebody learns from what you do?
Insulted? No, I don't become insulted. It makes me happy.
Some people find it an insult. Oh, you're copying me, right? So
no. Well, here's the thing. It's like I said earlier. I don't have a survival school. I'm not an instructor. I don't sell products. I don't do anything. I'm just a common dude on YouTube, and so it makes me happy for people to copy the things I did. And the thing is where would I be without my mentors showing me what they showed me? You know what I'm saying? Right. And times are different. Things are different. And like with YouTube, for me personally, YouTube has allowed me to be friends with people all over the world. I got friends from Canada, Norway, Sweden, everywhere. And anything that I can show, you know what I'm saying? And it all leads back to you got them real fancy people on YouTube that are great to watch. But as far as your common Joe copying them, it ain't possible. You know what I mean? And so do what you can, copy what you can, take from it. It makes me happy for people to do that. And the older I get, the less of a bushcrafter I become, because I like comfort. I like bringing gear. And sometimes I'm a bushcrafter. Sometimes I'm a survivalist. Sometimes a camper. Sometimes a hiker. You know what I mean? There's different things. And that's like, you got some people that they think that bushcrafting is a purism thing, that you need to, wear a leather thong and beat a piece of flint and steel off and use flint for carving and everything. Well, that's great if you can do that. But, I love, in the woods with Bigfoot, he said, bushcraft is a part of outdoors. And see, that's exactly it. You know what I mean? It's a part of it. And not everybody can ever do everything. It's your limitations. And somebody like me, I love gear. You know what I mean? That Amazon box that's got the big smile on it.
Yeah.
That smile is for when you get your new backpack or your new machete. Or
Now, if I can real quick, the thing is when it comes to the term bushcrafter, and that's where I come to odds with it, is I hope people understand bushcrafting, bushcrafters is a man-made creation, and it's not an ancient thing. It's not an old thing. It's a new thing. It hasn't been around for many years, the term bushcrafter. I'm 63 years old, and the first time I heard the word bushcrafting was 7 years ago. And I'm 63, and I've been in the outdoors my whole life. We call them all woodsmen, outdoorsmen. We never knew what the heck a bushcrafter was, but my grandfather had a pedal lathe that he would make what the hell do you call them for getting the maple syrup out of the trees, the spigots. Taps. Yeah, he'd make the taps. And he had a pedal lathe, and he'd cut those taps off on that pedal lathe, man-operated lathe. Now, he was a bushcrafter in today's terms, but back then, no, he was he was a sapper is all he was. I mean, that's all he did was make maple syrup. There was no fancy words for it or nothing, So bushcrafting, we can go on for months talking about what bushcrafting is. I don't think anybody really knows what bushcrafting is because it's still so new.
Yeah, it's
trying to create it into something. And it's like David said, a lot of people are trying to become purists in it. And no, if you want to be a Neanderthal, oh my gosh, have at it, go for it. And I always think of this. I worked for the Native American tribes for 27 years. And this elder at the one tribe I worked for, a dear friend of mine, I showed up at work and I said, you got to come out and take a look at what I bought. Took him out to my truck and I pulled this brand spanking new compound bow out of the truck and said, check that out. He wouldn't even touch it. He goes, what are you going to do with that? I said, I'm going deer hunting with that. He goes, he shook his head. He says, stupid white man. He says, and I said, well, I thought you would appreciate it. He goes, hey, once you guys brought rifles over here, deer hunting totally changed. He says, I ain't picking one of them up. No way. He says, my people use guns. We don't use bows. He says, you guys go use all the bows you want. He says, you guys think that's cute. He says, my people, he says, that was tough way of getting dinner. He says, now I just go out there with my 30-06 and I eat all I want. I said, okay, what can I say? And that's it. Our experience in the outdoors changes with time, but the outdoors doesn't change. It's always the outdoors.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you have any questions for David?
Well, the one thing I was wondering earlier is what was the name of the video where that happened? When you said about the trees going around and then you heard noises, and would you happen to know the name of that? Because I want to watch it bad.
I think
he has a few videos to go through to find it.
Did you actually shoot a video on that excursion, David?
He talked about it.
Oh, no, well, I talked about it because the thing is everybody kept asking me if I ever saw Bigfoot or if I had a Bigfoot experience. And I said, no. I said, I've only had one weird experience in my entire camping life. And everybody kept asking for the video, and I did it. And it was something like, I think it was like my new coffee press, rolled char cloth, and a mystery on John's Mountain. Because I had a French press and I showed it, and then a friend of mine showed me how to roll char cloth instead of just doing it flat.
Right.
And I showed both of those things in that video, and then I talked about John's Mountain. So that was the name of it. A lot of times I'll cram a bunch of stuff into one video.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you remember that.
I have a question.
Oh, I ain't going to forget that one.
I have a question for David. What's your shortest video?
20 minutes.
Yes.
I think 20 minutes. I think, and I can't make them long. I can't make them short. I probably need to. I'd be more popular and have more views probably if they were shorter, I think, because a lot of people can't sit there.
Don't do it. I've had people
I don't think I could. I like to talk too much.
I've had people ask me, Sty, why are your videos so long? And I said, well, on YouTube, when you grow up with Dave Pearson, I said, you kind of adopt the habit. I said, I can't shut up.
You know what? Like I say, I appreciate David's videos just because of the fact, like I say, you take the care to actually talk about what you're doing. And to me, as somebody that's trying to learn different skills and stuff like that, I enjoy watching that and learning from it. Right? So,
yeah, I mentioned it on my stream. We were talking about David the other day, and I mentioned that. And I told my viewers, I said, get over there, check them out. But I said, here's how you treat David's channel. You treat it like a weekly television show that you get hooked on. And you set a night aside. You set a night aside, go over there and catch up on his channel because his videos are longer. You do that to watch some sitcom, for crying out loud. Why can't you do it for somebody's channel that you enjoy? And that's the way I handle Dave's channel is I set a night aside and I go over, see if there's anything fresh and new. If there's a couple of videos, I know, hey, I got an hour wrapped up in this. So I just kick back, turn the lights down, and I watch David for an hour.
I put on videos when I'm cleaning my room. I got my TV and I'll just put on like a whole camping trip or like someone picking their whole garden, you know, something like that. Like the longer ones, I like doing that with them. And I listen to them.
I know people that know me know that I got a 65-inch computer screen and it's on a swivel. And I get up from my studio, I walk off and the TV follows me. I can be in the kitchen and watch it. I can go to the bathroom and watch it. That TV, I got it pointed wherever I'm at in the house. Yeah.
Anyways.
I don't want to miss nothing, you know?
Well, you know what, guys, we're at that 9 o'clock hour here. We're 2 hours into the stream, so I think it's about time that we start to close it up there. If anybody in the stream has any last final questions for David, feel free to put it in. You got about 30 seconds, and we'll see if we can get a short answer. But Nicholas, sorry we didn't get a little more out of you here.
Oh, it's good.
But good to have you on panel. Thanks for joining in. Sty, you as well. Great to have you as always.
Hey,
David.
Nicholas, do you make videos?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
He's
gonna
got
write
a
your name
small
down.
little channel of what? How many subscribers, Nicholas?
He's just
I
shy
think
of 500,000.
Yeah.
I'll sub you. When I get off here, I'll sub you.
Yeah, like I was gonna say,
500,001.
like
Did you
I was
hit?
gonna say, I think I've seen like one of your videos. Like I need to start watching now.
Yeah.
Oh, Nick, you'll enjoy. Yeah, you get over there. You're going to enjoy a lot of David's stuff. One of my favorite videos, David, of yours was, I believe it was a hammock. And you took that spring tubing and you run it down to the creek and you ran it up into your hammock to air condition the hammock. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I remember. See, there's a never ending down south where it's hot and humid. There's a never ending quest for comfort, and it just gets so hot out here in the summer. You don't want to camp.
I loved it. I mean, this guy, he's got it. You know, it looks like oversized dryer tube. You know, and he's got it all. It's all crunched up. It's small. He packs it in there, and all of a sudden, woof, he opens it up, and he's putting it over the creek. So the cool air off of that crick is coming up that tube into his hammock to cool him.
That's something I do.
Humid night, he's in there cool as a cucumber because he's drawing the cold air off the crick. I loved it. I loved it.
That's awesome. Yeah, somebody, who was it there, just said, Mama Bear said, how do you guys not know each other? So you guys will have to check out each other's channels. That's the whole thing.
Let me say something.
Getting to know
YouTube's so big.
Wow, that's exactly it, Nicholas, because I was fixing to say that the other day, I've been on YouTube 10 years, okay? So you would think I'd know a lot of people, and I do, but every once in a while somebody be like, hey, check this guy out. And so I'll go check this guy out, and he's wearing leather and got horns, and he's building a house out of, Viking-style rocks and stuff. And I'm looking at this channel, and I'm looking, and I'm like, who is this guy? And I'm like, he's got 800,000 subs, and each video's got 1 million views. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I've been on here 10 years, and how come I've never seen this guy? How come I've never heard of him? You know why? Because YouTube is a big place.
Yeah.
And it's really, really hard on small YouTubers to get exposure when YouTube is such a huge place.
Yeah.
You know,
Because
you got
algorithms. They send you to see what they think you want to see, and anything beyond that is Because it's funny, up around our area here, we have a very tight community, and the beauty of this type of show is trying to open up that community. And there you go, two of you just met, right?
Yeah.
That way. I know, right?
Yeah.
It seems at times that it's a small community, but it really isn't. There's different sectors. Like there's certain groups where they'll only recommend them to them, and it's not like I've only been recommended, I think, like once, one of your videos, and you're a bigger channel, and it's crazy. But just I've been on YouTube more hours than I've probably walked around, and I still haven't found like 10% of it. So.
I've had ReallyBigMonkey1 as a featured channel on my homepage for years now. I still don't get his notifications. Bells rang. I still don't get David's notifications. So I have to go over and check his channel once a week to see if I missed anything. And
see,
you would think that because I made him a feature channel and that I view his stuff, that they would recommend what's coming up, or at least let me know it's there. Oh no, YouTube don't tell me. Why?
Well, let me tell you something here real quick, okay? They had that big controversy not long ago about made for kids, not made for kids. If you make videos for kids, you're not allowed notifications, you're not allowed comments, and you're not allowed to be in the suggested videos feed, okay? So my videos are not made for kids, so every single video is clicked not made for kids.
Yes, it was me.
All of mine too.
I've had a bunch of people say that I've clicked notifications and I'm not getting notifications. Well, I had a friend email the other day that said, man, I clicked on notifications on your channel and it said that your channel's made for kids and you are not allowed notifications. And the problem with that is I'm such a small guy, I can't contact YouTube. YouTube won't deal with me. They won't talk to me. I have nobody to contact to. No. So, I'll never grow bigger than what I am now other than just by luck because I'm not allowed. They've got the system screwed up,
Yep.
See, with me, I looked at because the demographics and the analytics, and it said a lot of my viewers are from 25 to 50. Like, that's the main age. It said about 11% were younger. So, I put it to the adult, but I can just think of gaming channels, how that's going with them.
Well, they recognize that there's some adult games. They gave a little leeway there, But the worst thing for a channel, especially a bushcraft camping survival channel, the worst thing that could happen to you is to not be allowed comments. Because comments is where you get to know people.
That
interaction.
The
whole community.
Yeah, you have to have that interaction. Yeah.
Exactly.
You said it, David, real early tonight, that those comments in a lot of our videos, you can learn just as much, if not more, from the comments of your viewers as what you presented in your video. And that's what we need, is that interaction of the audience, because there's so much information we can get, and it gives us ideas for content.
I've been asked a couple of times, and I always say, like, the main part of a channel that really keeps it going is the comments. That's the main part, I think, really runs it. Because other than that, it's just, a bunch of ghosts watching your video. You don't even know who's watching. And like mine, there's about 50 people that comment on everyone. I've seen them on like every single video, and I know them, and it's weird, but I remember so many people, and they'll check back in, and then it just makes the whole channel, just the comments.
Yeah, it does.
And you know what? I think every YouTuber wants that. Every YouTuber wants an interaction with their followers or their subscribers, right? And to have a comment on there is such a good feeling that, yeah, like you say, Nicholas, you get to know who your followers are. You know, there's a proverbial face to the viewer, right?
Yeah. Well, most of them care about comments. There's a few of them that I know of. They're on there for money only, and they don't even read the comments. They don't even care what people say.
Yeah.
I can't stand them. And like you said earlier, how Joe texts you back, you know, a lot of them will ignore you, and you get bigger, and then they want to text. It's like, no, you know, it's not for the right reasons.
Right.
That's two weeks worth of mail I got to get out to my viewers.
There you go. Right. So
my viewers are so important to me that if they write to me, I mean, they send me an email and they say, "Oh, Sty, I really like your channel, blah, blah, blah."
Mm-hmm.
They don't even ask for a channel sticker. They don't ask. They're just complimenting me and my channel. I kick them off a letter. Throw a channel sticker in there just because, I mean, before I started YouTube, it was all about money. I had my wilderness camp, and I started YouTube thinking I'll get a lot more customers. What I found out was I got a lot of friends.
Mm-hmm.
My customers were through normal marketing. YouTube wasn't doing it for the business. It was selfish. I mean, because I met so many neat people that I realized when we shut down the camp, I realized, no, YouTube keeps going. I don't need a camp. I just need to go out there and be me. And I get to meet all these wonderful folks out here. You know,
You can't let your hobby. You can't let your hobby turn into a job, because then it becomes miserable. It's like, you know, I work like a dog, you know, at the mill, you know, but I got to have some downtime, and that's where bushcrafting, camping, hiking, and all that kind of stuff comes in. And I certainly don't want to turn it into a job, because then I'd be miserable. What I do for fun then?
Well, yeah, like I tell everybody, if you're not having fun doing your videos, maintaining your channel, and interacting, if you're not having fun, then you shouldn't be. You should be a viewer, not a creator. Because if creation is making your life hard, then why do it?
I just made a change
to make yourself feel bad. Do it because it feels good, and as long as it feels good, keep doing it. Keep pounding it out. Go ahead, do it, but walk away from it the minute it starts feeling like a burden. Walk away from it and go camping for a week and say, leaving the cameras at home, the phone at home, the kids and the wife at home, and but yeah, YouTube. For some people, it's a commercial venture, but I think for most of us, it's just the chance to be able to know people from all over the world, different walks of life and different ways they do things. Yeah.
And with me, I didn't come on here to be a YouTuber, you know? Like, I didn't even think about it. I just come on to post the videos so I could watch them down the road. And then it took off. And like, I was getting burnt out, you know? It was like 2 years, like a month ago, I put an update video because I finally realized that I started going down the path a lot of YouTubers would do. And that's going off of what everyone else is doing. And it really burns you out because it's not what you want to do. You're doing what, you know, I'm an outdoor channel, so I have to do bushcraft. You know, I started trying to throw myself into bushcraft like super hard, and it just didn't work with me. So
you weren't happy.
So I'm just, you know, I'm taking like a little break now, and it's just I was gonna burn myself out if I didn't, because it's crazy, you know, how I'd never think I could change like that, but I did, and I started going down that path. So
yes, I'll be hiking to a waterfall tomorrow, by the way, chasing guns. Yeah. I'm going into Lost Creek Falls tomorrow. I got to go to my favorite waterfalls all the time. I got to hike in there all the time.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a waterfall lunch, I think. I'm going to pack something in.
Good to see you're getting out anyway, Sty. Okay,
Yeah.
anyways, guys, we should be wrapping this up here, 2 hours, 15 minutes. Once again, I just wanted to, before you guys take off, there's another live stream that's going on. Probably just started about 5 or 10 minutes ago, and it's be right up everybody's wheelhouse, and I'll let you know right after my closure here. So, David, thank you very much for joining me tonight. You're an awesome guest, and I'd love to have you on again another time because I'm sure we just touched the tip of the iceberg with you.
Yeah, I'll be back on sometime whenever you got a free slot because I got plenty more stories to tell, and I got a lot more background information people would love to hear.
Sure.
I'm
going to catch him too, Dennis. I want him for a story time over online.
Yeah.
Listen, the guy named Maverick, I got a big story about him I've never told.
Oh, man. You know what? We'll get you back on as like I say, in the panel here one time, and let's have at her for sure. Yep. Yeah, that's good stuff. Anyways, everybody in the chat, thank you very much for your participation tonight. Seemed to be a very good show. We had a good crowd in here and everything. If you haven't already done so, please do smash the subscribe button for Canoe Hound Adventures because we are still a growing channel. We're working our way. Check out David's ReallyBigMonkey1 channel down below, Nicholas Green Outdoors, and of course Sty North. They all have fantastic channels, great content. Check them all out. Share the love, get to know each other, leave comments. We all want to see comments. That's the main thing. Stay safe and healthy. Right now, like I say, there's some pretty trying times out there. And don't forget, next week, May 12th, we have Ted Baird from season 4 of Alone. And on the 19th, Stephen Coutts is going to tell us a little bit about canoe polling. So I am Dennis from Canoe Hound Adventures saying, remember, people, keep the adventures alive, and we will talk to you all soon. Have a great week and stay safe and healthy. Oh, wait a sec. One more thing. That live stream. Go on over. There's a channel called Rain Dance Bushcraft. Rain Dance Bushcraft. And tonight they've got Kevin Callan, Joe Robinette, an avid outdoorsy guy, and Pine Martin are going to be on there. Go on over and call it a Canoe Hound Adventures Raid. Okay, Canoe Hound Adventures Raid, and that's Rain Dance Bushcraft. See you next week, everybody.